Hi, and welcome to Best in Tesla. How many times have you heard the word Tesla killer? And for how many years? Probably many times, too many. People should really stop saying that. It is starting to become embarrassing. Let me tell you why the Tesla killers are dead. And why we would never see the movie Who Killed Tesla.
In another year or two, we'll see a movie called Who Killed Tesla? A conspiracy movie starring Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, let's dive right in. Tesla's short sellers, journalists and other car manufacturers have for many years been screaming, "The wolf is coming! The Tesla killer is coming!" They have been screaming that for the better half of a decade, but now we're here with these so-called Tesla killers that would just ramp up production like it was nothing because some of them have over 100 years experience in just that. But nobody came and beat Tesla. They couldn't even take market share from Tesla in the EV market. When they came out with their so-called Tesla killers, Tesla grew in EV market share. Probably because it became obvious that Tesla was so far ahead on every count. Just look at E-tron, the I-Pace, Mercedes EQC and the Porsche. They all have less range, better performance, but are all more expensive than the Tesla Model 3. Now the only thing people has left is, "But they're well built." Sure, they are all well built, but I wouldn't call my Tesla Model 3 a bad built car. It's probably just not as well built as a Porsche or Mercedes. But that is the last thing people are really claiming to, because it has become very obvious that Tesla beat them on everything else. They have all been screaming about that 300-mile range EV, but no one came out with one that could do the 300 miles. But they're well built. They all came out with the range that only matched the range of the original Roadster that could do 245 miles back in 2008, 12 years ago. And then Porsche spent billions of dollars and 5 years, and then they come out with their so-called Tesla killer that can only do 200 miles. And can't even beat the Model S family saloon car on the 0 to 60 time or the top speed. And Tesla is already working on the next generation Plaid Model S version that is coming out probably at the end of the year and will destroy the Porsche in every way. But it's well built. And before people were talking about all these Tesla killers that would come out in 2019 and 2020. But they all failed to do so. And now everybody is screaming about their next big Tesla killers that are coming out in 2023, 2024, 2025. But these Tesla killers, in my opinion, are already too late. And they will simply not catch up. Just look at the pace of Tesla compared to the pace of the other guys. I already talked about the Porsche that took 5 years to make and could not match up to the Tesla. But also, let's take a look at the Tesla Model 3 killer, the Volkswagen ID.3. The ID.3 was previewed as a concept car called the Volkswagen ID with a hatchback type body and was first shown at the September 2016 in the Paris Motor Show. Then, 3 years later, they started production of the car in November 2019. Now they have postponed the deliveries of the ID.3 to September 2020 because of all the software issues. But even then, it will not be the fully featured ID.3 we get at that point. Some features will come later. So we are probably talking at the end of 2020 or early 2021 for them to come out with the car they promised 4 years after they showed the car for us the first time. And from when they started production of the car and to delivery to the customers, it's going to take about a year. That's simply not fast enough, and I hope they have learned a lot from this car and can speed up from here on out. Otherwise, they will never come even close to Tesla in the EV market. Because if we compare the pace of Tesla, they are of course all in a very different place when it comes to making EVs, so we are of course not comparing apples to apples here, but just to show the pace of innovation and production of Tesla compared to the old boys. Tesla broke ground in Shanghai for their Gigafactory in January 2019, and 1 year later they had built the whole goddamn factory, started production of the Model 3 and delivered the first car to customers. 1 year. Volkswagen had the factory and did start production, but it's going to take a year from them to deliver this car to the first customers? What? And Tesla is already working on the next factory in Germany that is going to produce Model 3 and Model Y for Europe. And oh yeah, speaking of Model Y, that was revealed in March 2019, started deliveries in March 2020, 1 year later. So Tesla showed off the Model Y almost 3 years later than Volkswagen showed off the ID.3, and Tesla came out with their Model Y before Volkswagen came out with their ID.3. We will almost have the Gigafactory in Berlin producing cars for Tesla at the same time the fully featured ID.3 will hit the market. That is just crazy. So Tesla is not only beating everyone on the spec sheet when it comes to EVs, but they're also beating everyone when it comes to building factory and getting shit done. The Volkswagen battery factory they are working on with Northvolt is only going to be ready in 2023 or 24, 3 to 4 years from now. And the same goes for GM's big battery plant. Tesla will probably have 2 to 4 gigafactories more up and running by then. They are simply not in the same league as Tesla when it comes to pace and making factories that can produce EVs and getting them to the customers. And for these so-called Tesla killers, they need to kill Tesla on the spec sheet as well. And even here in 2020, or maybe first in 2021, the ID.3, in my opinion, falls short. Don't get me wrong, I think it's gonna be a great car, but they did call it a Tesla Model 3 killer. But we gotta give Volkswagen credit for bringing the first real competitor when it comes to range. Because the most expensive one of the ID.3 versions will have a range of 550 kilometers, which is only 10 kilometers short of the Tesla Model 3 long range. And the ID.3 is going to beat Tesla on price. But it's not by much, because if you want an ID.3, you are going to want to buy the most expensive one. Because if you check the cheapest one, you will only have about 330 kilometers of range, or about 206 miles. And the car suddenly becomes a very slow car with a 0 to 60 time in about 11 seconds. No thank you. And all the cool stuff you see in the advertising of the ID.3, like the cool looking heads-up display and all that stuff, is of course something you have to buy extra. So in the end, it will probably not be much cheaper than the Tesla Model 3. But it is cheaper, it has the range, doesn't beat Tesla on the range, but it's very good. And it is going to be connected to the internet and be able to make over-the-air updates. Hopefully. So that is all great. But if we look at the speed and acceleration of the car, they are not even close. The most expensive one makes 0 to 60 in 8.5 seconds and have a top speed of 160 kilometers an hour or 100 miles an hour. Not very impressive. So if you want a car that has that fun acceleration like the Tesla and is also fun on the German Autobahn, the German ID.3 is just not it. And it's only going to be able to charge with 100 kilowatt. So the ID.3 is already obsolete for me with the 175 kilowatt charger I use today with my Eon subscription here in Denmark. And Tesla of course can do a 250 kilowatt, so that's just not good enough. But it's well built. But this car has from many people been called the Tesla Model 3 killer, and the most important car of the future, because this is really the car for the masses. Well, not really, because if you're going with the cheapest model of the ID.3, you're also getting a bad EV, not much range, no fast charging, and no speed and acceleration whatsoever. And the ID.3 is still no cheap car by any means. I still think the most important car for the future, and truly is the car for the masses, is going to be Tesla's upcoming Model 2, or even maybe a Model 1, or whatever they're going to be called. Because so far, if you find a so-called cheap EV like the Volkswagen Up or the new MG ZS from China, that I actually did test drive here in Denmark, sure, you can get a pretty cheap EV, but you will also not get a very good EV, or even a good car in general. They're just cheap. You have to make so many compromises to get the cheap EV right now, and I'm hoping the Tesla Model 2 will be a much cheaper car than the ID.3, but be an even better car than the ID.3. But time will tell. So if you're going to call something a Tesla killer, it needs to beat Tesla on all counts, or it's just not a Tesla killer. So let me see them check off these boxes in the future. Range at least 300 miles, 500 kilometers, or 600 kilometers if they want to be the Model S killer. Be able to make over-the-air update. If you can't do this with your next EV, don't even bother to show up. Make a 0 to 60 time at least as fast as the Model 3, so about 4 seconds. Or again, less than 2.5 if you want to beat the Tesla Model S. Top speed at least over 260 km an hour or 160 miles per hour. Be able to charge with at least 250 kilowatts. And come with great software that has great user interface that we all used to from our smartphone and iPads, and of course Tesla. Just take a look at these lousy navigation system in brand new cars. It looks like a bad movie from the 90s. Compared to Tesla's smooth running Google Maps on their big tablet-like screen. If you can't check off all these boxes, it will never be a Tesla killer. So stop screaming, the wolf is coming, because it will never kill Tesla. Because sure, the ID.3 is cheaper, but you are also getting a car that can't keep up with Tesla. So of course it should be cheaper. Because I really don't think the Tesla Model 3 is expensive when you take the real cost of ownership into account and how much car you get for your money. You get the safest car in the world, and if you want a car that can match the speed and acceleration of the Model 3, you have to pay much more. And you get a car that gets better over time, and have the best software of any car, and has the best charging infrastructure in the world. And you don't have to pay more than you do for Ford S-Max. So not expensive, but it's just not a cheap car. So the big boys really have to bring their A game to call the next car a Tesla killer. So far I have not seen any Tesla killers, and they have all also been put to shame with their tiny sales numbers of EVs compared to Tesla. So there never came this promised Tesla killer, and I really don't think we will ever see one, because the old boys are simply not moving fast enough to catch up to Tesla. Both when it comes to the specs of the car, but also when it comes to making new innovative cars and getting them to production and out to customers. Tesla just showed all the big boys how this is done, and the big boys are just dragging their feet compared to Tesla. It's like seeing the Tesla Model 3 and the ID.3 on the racetrack. The ID.3 will never catch up. But I really hope that someone will come out with a car that can compete with the Tesla cars. Because that will be good for everyone with some competition. That will always benefit the consumers. And that's what Tesla's mission is all about. But right now there are simply no competitors to Tesla. The big boys like Audi and Mercedes, they don't have a car that can even beat the Tesla Model 3 on specs and can't do over-the-air updates. They are already dinosaurs even before they came out. And they are all more expensive than the Tesla Model 3. That is not competition. And EVs are the future, so do the European legislators agree with. But where is the competition? Hopefully, just around the corner. What electric car do you think is coming that can take up the challenge and at least be a competitor to the Tesla Model S or the Tesla Model Y? Let me know in the comments below. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button. It does really help out these videos so others can find it as well. And if you are new to this channel, you should consider subscribing. I come out with videos like this all the time and have a weekly news episode every Sunday about Tesla, Elon Musk and everything in between. And if you can't wait until Sunday and want the news as it comes out, don't forget to follow me on Twitter. I tweet almost all the news in there as they come out. And you can also check out my new Instagram page. If you are already a subscriber, thank you so much for the support. If you want to support the channel even more, you can for as little as $1 support this show, but it really means a lot for the channel. And to all my Patreons already supporting the show, thank you so much for your support, really appreciate it. And thank you for watching. And until next time, take care out there and be nice.